What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic: Blueblod Sports wants Terence Crawford to move up to 154 pounds and fight Jermell Charlo to give Errol Spence an easy route to Undisputed at 147 pounds. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. It's been a while, but we're gonna keep it boxing. All right, so a lot going on in boxing as usual. Okay, a lot of good fights coming up in the next couple of months. Okay, and in the next month as well. So we should be getting a lot of good boxing. But right now, I want to talk about a couple of things that that we've seen that's going on recently. Okay, so I think probably the biggest news is that Bob Arum is coming out and saying that he's ready to work with Crawford again. Okay, so obviously, well, not obviously, but the fight that he wants to make with Crawford is the fight with Taylor. Okay, Josh Taylor. So now, as we all know, Bob Arum and Terence Crawford and Terence Crawford's team, they're in a lawsuit. Terence Crawford filed a lawsuit against Bob Arum, saying that he held up Terence Crawford's career, and that he wanted to, he damaged it, and that he wanted a specified amount of compensation for money that Bob Arum, he felt that Bob Arum, owed him. So he filed a lawsuit against Bob Arum. Then right after that, well, this was right after his contract had expired with Top Rank. So not only is he not with Top Rank anymore, that is Terence Crawford, but he's also suing Top Rank. For breach of contract, basically. So the boxing community, specifically, a lot of these guys on YouTube, they're basically, Blueblod Sports and all these other guys, they basically decided that because of the lawsuit that Terence Crawford filed, his career was over. That, he was going to get blacklisted, quote unquote. Not whitelisted. He was going to get blacklisted, in boxing. So that was a general consensus among all the so-called YouTube pundits. Okay, I just mentioned a name. I could name a whole bunch more, but suffice to say, we all know who I'm talking about. So supposedly, Terence Crawford's career was over. He was never gonna get a chance to work with anybody in boxing again. This, that, the other, the whole 9 yards. And lo and behold, here we have Bob Arum coming out and saying, "The hell with the lawsuit. I don't care about the lawsuit. I just want to, I want to do some business with Terence Crawford. Simple as that." So I guess, all of the prophets of doom that was, prophesying about the end of Terence Crawford's career, I guess, they got to go back to the videotape, go back to the drawing board, you know what I mean? So much for that. Okay, now I predicted this in one of my videos. You can go and check it, okay, where I talked about the fact that, I think that one was about, this was going to be the 10th straight knockout for Terence Crawford if Bob Arum, if they proceeded with the lawsuit. So at this point, it looked like Bob Arum really doesn't care about the lawsuit. I'm pretty sure they're probably in talks already to settle it, just like I predicted that it would happen. And this is what's going down. Okay, so if Bob Arum wants to work with Terence Crawford again, I guess Terence Crawford, can't be all that bad, I guess, right, guys? I'm talking to those guys in the LDBC right now, who was out there predicting the end of his career, So anyway, that's the latest big news in boxing right now. But you don't hear too much people talking about it, but that's what's going down. Okay, so Bob Arum is ready to work with Terence Crawford again to make a fight with Josh Taylor and he said he don't really care about the lawsuit. Okay, that's something different. You know, he don't got no problem with that. That's he said him personally, he have no problem working with Terence Crawford again, and that's that. So much for that. Okay, so I guess we can put that to rest now, even though a lot of people out there still don't want to accept that, and you know, even though it came from the mouth of their god, Bob Arum. Okay, and you know, because not too long ago, Blueblod Sports was on his channel talking about how Terence Crawford should, you know, go to purse bid, you know, with Vergil Ortiz, or you know, take a fight with this guy or that guy, you know, with Blair Cobbs or somebody like that, because you know he doesn't have anything going on right now, and he's never gonna get a chance to work with Top Rank again because you know is Top Rank gonna? I mean, just pure nonsense. So. So he on his own channel he was saying that, okay, that this was, you know, then lo and behold, not even a week later, Bob Arum come out and totally contradicting what he was saying. Okay, saying that he's going to work with Terence Crawford. Now, did he make a video about that? Yes. And what did he say in the video? Nothing. He just kept talking on and on about his channel and how his channel not getting what YouTube is blocking his channel, and he went on and on about that, but nothing about the topic. Okay, he when a couple of people mentioned it to him, and he just like, oh yeah, and then he went on and started whining about his people not getting access to his channel on YouTube or some foolishness like that. So this is what's, you know, passes for commentary, you know, out there. So that's what went down with that. Okay, so basically I've been watching, you know, looking around and seeing a few things, and it's like, you know, Blueblod Sports is almost as if he is Terence Crawford's manager all of a sudden. I don't, you know, if you listen to his video, he's always talking about what Crawford needs to do and how Crawford needs to do this. And, you know, since he doesn't got nothing going on right now, he's not to be represented by anybody right now, that he needs to fight this guy, he needs to fight that guy, he needs to, you know, he needs to move up to 154 pounds and take on Jermell Charlo. And that way, you know, if he does that, then, you know, Errol Spence could vacate his belt, and then Errol Spence and Vergil Ortiz can fight for Terence Crawford's belt. And that way, now, when Terence Crawford, if he moves up and he beats Jermell Charlo, then somehow, you know, Errol Spence beats Vergil Ortiz, then Errol Spence is probably going to look to move up and fight Errol Spence. And by that time, with, you know, beating Jermell Charlo, Terence Crawford will have, you know, all the you know, he'll be the A side, maybe. I mean, the whole thing is so. I mean, when I listen to these guys talk, I'll just say to myself, are these guys serious or what? So, I mean, this is the scenario, the route that Blueblod Sports expects Terence Crawford to make in order to get a fight with Errol Spence. Can you imagine? Why not just fight Errol? Why is he encouraging Crawford to move up to 154 pounds to fight a big guy like Jermell Charlo instead of fighting Errol Spence at his own weight? He talks about everything but that. He talks about everything. Crawford needs to do everything in the book but fight Errol Spence. And he doesn't tell Errol Spence to fight Crawford, okay? He doesn't say, well, Errol Spence, how come you're not fighting Crawford? It's been like 4 years now, you know. But not recently on his channel, I hear him talking about Kambosos needs to fight Devin Haney, and he's been champion, and he said he was going to fight the best, and the best needs to fight the best. And, well, the same thing could be said for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. This has been going for 4 years. Okay? Kambosos hasn't even been champion for a year yet, not even 6 months, and you expect him to fight the best immediately, but you don't expect the same from Errol Spence. So we can see the energy is not the same. I mean, what is it about Kambosos why he got to fight Devin Haney right away, and Errol Spence could take 4 or 5 years before he fight Crawford? Why can't Kambosos milk the belt a little bit like everybody else do? Everybody say that they're gonna fight the best before they get the belt. When they get the belt, it's a whole different story. It's the same thing with Errol Spence. He claimed he was gonna be this and that before he, you know, he got the belts. Once he got the belts, he said he's not gonna be the same as Keith Thurman. And what happened? He turned to be worse than Keith Thurman. He's been ducking for 4 years now. Not even Keith Thurman went to the heights of ducking that we've seen from Errol Spence. So, you know, you can't really go by what these fighters say in the heat of the moment when they just want a title and they're excited. They'll say anything. But once they get back into the room, you know, and the manager starts talking, then it's a whole different story because the managers are going to do what's best for the fighter. Okay? You know, 9 times out of 10, that is. You can't say that for all of them. But, you know, they're going to do that. So, you know, the best fight for the fighter might not be the best fight for the fans, which is what we have been seeing with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, because even though the fans want the fight, it's a good fight for the fans. For Errol Spence, it's not a good fight, okay? Because Errol Spence don't think he can beat Terence Crawford, and so he's been ducking Crawford for years. So, and it is what it is. I mean, you know, we got to call it like we see it. So, Blueblod Sports has suddenly become Terence Crawford's manager, and he's full of advice for Terence Crawford about what Terence Crawford needs to be doing at this point in his career. You know, he's on the clock. It's this and it's that. He's 34. He's going to be 35 soon. He needs to do something. He needs to do something. I mean, he's more concerned about Terence Crawford's career than Terence Crawford. But the thing about that is that the only thing he's really concerned about with Terence Crawford's career is that Terence Crawford don't fight Errol Spence. Okay? He has plans for Terence Crawford to fight everybody in the book but Errol Spence. He has no plans for that. No scenario of that. You know? So... At the end of the day, man, this is a joke, okay? And these guys just need to, you know, stop with the foolishness, okay? If I'm Terence Crawford, I'm not fighting Jermell Charlo until I get undisputed at 147 pounds. And that's that, okay? That's the best route for him to take, you know? Where else is Errol Spence going to go? He's going to keep ducking and ducking and ducking? You know, Terence Crawford going to get some, he can fight Josh Taylor like Bob Arum wants and get that fight out the way, okay? And, you know, he can, you know, he don't have to take no stay busy fights, fighting Blair Cobbs and people like that. For what? He can fight for titles just like Errol Spence fight for titles. Okay? If he beats if he beats Josh Taylor, he would have beat the undisputed guy, you know, at 140 pounds, and he came up to 147 pounds and he got beat. Probably gonna get stopped. Okay? You know, we don't know, but we have to see. But you know, there's a lot of criticism of Josh Taylor right now because of his last fight, but I wouldn't, you know, get too deep into that because I think that, you know, I hear talking, you know, out there saying that well, Josh Taylor was drained, you know, he was had trouble making the weight, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't doubt that, okay. I wouldn't dismiss it so readily as I hear people do. No, I don't even think he lost that fight with Catterall. I thought he eked out a victory. I mean, you know, in a fight like that, you know, you got to go towards the champion with the decision at the end of the day. Okay, I mean, it was a close fight, but I think he pulled it out in the end. So, you know, all this talk about, you know, Josh Taylor getting away with murder or getting robbed. It's not robbery. It's all foolishness. It was no robbery. Anyway, the bottom line is that everybody's doubting Josh Taylor now, but I think the point that they were making, that, you know, his team is making, that he was, you know, drained because of the weight, trying to make the weight. I give it some substance. I think there's substance to that because I don't really see how a guy like Josh Taylor make 140 pounds. I just don't see it. Like, oh, this guy's huge. How the hell does he make 140 pounds? I just don't see it. I mean, this guy should be fighting at 160 with the size that he got. You know what I'm saying? 154 pounds. He's 154 pounder. He's not a 140 pounder. I mean, it's ridiculous for him to be fighting at that weight. So I think there's a lot to that about him, you know, being drained. I think at 147, he'll be a much better fighter, much stronger, and even at 154, I think he'd be much better still. Okay, I think he can go into that weight very nicely. So that's what I think about him. But so I think a fight with him and Crawford at 147 pounds will be a different ball game. You know, it's not like he'd be trying to, you know, drain himself, get to 140 to make weight against Crawford. At 147, he'll be able to ease up on cutting weight, and he'll be a lot stronger. You know, that's how I see that. So the fight would probably be a pretty good fight. So yeah, that's a route that Crawford can take. You know, while he's waiting for Spence to get his tail out his butt. Okay, as Crawford himself said. So this is, you know, what it is. So this whole idea of moving up, you know, to fight Jermell Charlo, there's no problem with. I don't have a problem with that, and that's something in the future. But it's not right now. Right now, we need to deal with the 147 pounds and become undisputed. Why should Crawford leave his belt at 147 pounds so that Errol Spence can get an easy route to Undisputed? Why should he do that? This is what Blueblod Sports want. That's what these guys want. Okay, this is why they're hating on Crawford. They want Crawford to leave Spence alone. Why is he bothering Spence? Move up and fight Jermell Charlo if you want to fight somebody. This is what the talk is. So I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, this whole Spence protection brigade is getting out of hand, and because of that, we're not seeing fights. So Spence, how do you have 3 belts? Well, 2 belts, and only fight once in 2 years, 3 years. How did that happen? You have 2 belts and you only fought once in 2.5, 3 years now. So I mean, basically you're holding up the division. Okay, this is what's going down. So I think Spence needs to fight Crawford after this Ugas fight. That's the logical fight next. The logical fight for him is not Jermell Charlo, 154 pounds. That's a fool's errand right there at this point in his career. He should stay at 147 pounds, get the fight next, make that fight next with Errol Spence. Track Errol Spence down, get him out of his bunker, okay, drag his ass out, out of his bunker into the ring where he belongs with Terence Crawford. Okay, that's what they need. That's what Crawford needs to do. Okay, forget about going up to fighting Jermell Charlo at this point. Do that after you become undisputed at 147 pounds. Forget about what these guys are talking about. Blueblod Sports and all the rest of them on the PBC side. They're just trying to get an easy route for their boy Vergil Ortiz. Okay, they want Vergil Ortiz to fight. I mean, for their boy Spence against Vergil Ortiz. They want Vergil to fight. I mean, this guy, it came out of this guy's mouth. He actually says, yeah, well, then Vergil Ortiz can fight Spence for the vacated belt that Crawford leaves behind at 147 pounds. Why should Crawford leave his belt behind 147 pounds? Why aren't you pushing for the fight with Crawford and Spence instead of trying to push for a fight with Spence, with the Crawford and Jermell Charlo in the whole other division? Okay, he's in a 147-pound division. Push for that fight. But this guy never pushes for the fight. Blueblod Sports never pushes for the fight with Crawford and Spence. He's always trying to find a way where Spence don't fight Crawford and somehow becomes undisputed. That's the goal of these guys. That Spence's that's his whole drive, his whole mission is to somehow get to undisputed without fighting Crawford. Okay, if he can't do that, then he's not going to fight Crawford. Even now, he's on his. We saw him recently talking about. They asked him about the Crawford fight next. He says, "Well, we'll see." We'll see. That was his answer. We'll see. Well, I should have said anything about 60-40, especially when we wasn't really negotiating in the first place. And so if we wasn't negotiating, then I think the best thing is that we should do that in private, and that's the best thing, because doing it out like I was doing it's not really gonna get the fight, because everybody got egos, and basically it was just prevent the fight from happening, and even though we wasn't really negotiating for a fight. So if we're gonna be negotiating for a fight, I'm gonna be just I'm gonna just keep it in house, and after this fight, with Ugas, then we'll see, we'll see what happens. So that was his answer to the direct question about the legacy, the fight with Crawford, if he's going to fight Crawford next. That was his answer. We'll see. So we all see what it is. Next fight for Errol Spence is going to be Keith Thurman, and that's that. He's not going to fight Crawford next. All these fans out there talking foolishness about it. He's giving Crawford notice. He's telling Crawford, I'm coming after you next. And he never said anything like that. He didn't even mention Crawford's name. He didn't even mention the WBO. Okay? He talked about WBA, Ring Magazine, belt, every other belt but the WBO. He never even mentioned. I mean, it's ridiculous what these fans out there talking about. I mean, and these pundits, making up all these videos about what Errol Spence said. And when you go and listen to the video about what Errol Spence said, it is nothing like that. He never said any such thing. These guys are just out there making up narrative, speaking for Errol Spence, because Errol Spence really ain't saying nothing about Crawford. Okay, this is what it's all come down to, and everybody, it's becoming apparent to everybody now that this guy is really, not only is he ducking Errol Spence, I mean, not only is Errol Spence ducking Crawford, he's probably actually afraid of Crawford, which brings us to this point where we see Blair Cobbs, okay, Blair the Flair Cobbs, woo, okay, Blair the Flair. So Blair the Flair Cobb did an interview on Fight Hype, shout out to FightHype.com, where, you know, he spoke about the whole Errol Spence situation. He called Errol Spence a coward. He said Errol Spence is afraid of that Errol Spence is a coward, and he's afraid of Terence Crawford, okay, and that he doesn't respect cowards. And this is what Blair the Flair. Here go Blair the Flair Cobb. Take a look at him. There he goes. That was Blair the Flair on the right hand with the afro, okay? Just in case you thought he was the other. That's Blair the Flair, okay, with the afro, just in case you thought he was the other guy with getting his face squashed. Yeah, so, yeah, Blair the Flair called out Errol Spence, said Errol Spence is a coward, that he's afraid of Crawford, and that he's cursed because he should have fought Crawford a long time ago, and instead now he's all injured up, and, you know, that more than likely that he's going to get beat by Ugas. So that's the word from Blair the Flair Cobb. Take a look at it one more. All right, so is that going to be the case? We don't know. We'll see how it all turns out in the end. Now, obviously, people are asking Errol Spence about Crawford, but the only reason he's actually talking about Crawford is because he's trying to promote his next fight. You know, he's using Crawford's name to promote his next fight, so he's giving hints here and there. Like, he never mentioning Crawford's name, never actually saying he's going to fight Crawford next. He never said that up to now. With all the videos that you have seen about, you know, people out there, and take a look. With all the videos that you have seen out there about how Crawford, Spence is going after Crawford, he's coming after Crawford next, they're going to fight next. With all those videos you have seen out there, go and listen to the interview. It's on Fight Hype with Errol Spence and see what he actually said. And you will see that he said nothing of the sort, okay? All of that talk that people are talking out there is just pure cap, okay? So just listen to what Errol Spence said himself. I encourage you to do that, okay? So he has no intention of fighting Crawford next, and I guarantee you the next fight he's going to have is with Keith Thurman, okay? Believe what I'm telling you. And after that, he's going to fight a mandatory, maybe one of them other champions, Stanionis or whoever, okay? So this is the route that Errol Spence is going to take, okay? Maybe he might fight Vergil Ortiz after that, okay? But he's not going to fight Crawford. And whether it's at 147 or 154 pounds, it's not going to happen. Unless it's his cash out fight, his last fight, you know, where he's going to retire like Sean Porter did. So, yeah, that's basically what's going down with that. And this whole idea that people out there talking about, you know, Terence Crawford should move up to fight Jermell Charlo, it's not a bad idea, but not right now. He needs to deal with 147 pounds first. He has unfinished business there. And there's no reason why he should move to 154 before he finishes his business at 147. Just because our people don't want to take care of their business, okay? We need to take care of business at 147, and so Crawford needs to stay there, get in there with Errol Spence and handle that unfinished business, and then move up and deal with Jermell Charlo, okay? And then we'll see, you know, what's going on with that. So yeah, that's how I see this. You know what I mean? So I think the whole idea is silly, okay, at this point in Crawford's career. He has other options. He doesn't have to do that. He can fight, like I said, Josh Taylor. He got other big fights that he can make at 147 pounds without going up and giving up his belt, okay? And, you know, gambling on a fight, you know, without a belt, and then, you know, up there at 154 pounds with a bigger guy, you know, got in Jermell. Now, I'm not saying that Terence Crawford is going to lose, that he might lose to Jermell Charlo, even though, you know, I think Jermell Charlo is a great fighter. And, you know, so they're both great fighters. So it'll be a tough fight for both guys, that I would think. But, you know, if I was to put money on it, I would probably go with Crawford. Okay, simple as that. And because of his skill set, I mean, if he can go into that weight, I think he could give Jermell Charlo, a good fight and probably beat him. And, I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to beat Jermell Charlo, but I'm thinking he probably will. Okay, but he could lose as well. It's a possibility, but I don't think it's probable that he would lose. But the only way we're going to know that is if we see the fight. But at this point, we're not there yet. Where we are right now is Errol Spence. Okay, and he needs to deal with that unfinished business at 147 pounds before even considering moving up to 154 pounds. Okay, this is what needs to happen, and so that's what people need to be encouraging and pushing for that instead of pushing for some fantasy fight at 154 pounds. Okay, but instead they're all about protecting Errol Spence. Terence Crawford should be out. They're trying to get Terence Crawford out of the way at 147 pounds because he's the one that's stopping Errol Spence. That's the only guy that Errol Spence don't want to fight. Okay, at 147 pounds is Terence Crawford. So this is what it is right now. Okay, and so this is where we are still. Okay, still the division is getting held up by Errol Spence. So at the end of the day, a lot of people out there are hoping that Yordenis Ugas can beat Spence, because if he beats Spence, then we can get that out of the way. We can get Spence out of the way. We can unblock the division. Okay, and things could start flowing freely again. We won't have Spence holding up the division like he's been doing for all these years. Okay, barely fighting anybody. So so that's what needs to happen. And me personally, I hope Ugas wins myself. I mean, not that I think that Ugas is going to win. I mean, but he could win. He has a shot to beat Errol Spence. And I'm hoping that he'll win, because then we can get that whole ducking and nonsense out the way. We can get rid of another duck. Okay, we got rid of one with Keith Thurman, even though he's popping up his head again. But essentially he's done. Okay, and we have just one more duck left to go. Well, not one more. We have a lot of ducks. We have Canelo. We have Jermell Charlo. There's a whole bunch of ducks out there. But this particular duck is holding up the most prestigious division in boxing, except for the heavyweight, which is welterweight. And it's a big problem, man. We need to get moving in the welterweights, and we need to get Spence out of the way, because he's just blocking the division and not doing anything productive. Okay, so he needs to just step to the side, and hopefully Ugas can put him to the side, and and that'll be that, and we can move on and get to Undisputed. So hopefully that could happen, but I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath with all the politics that we see in boxing. It's almost like WWE now. So you never know what's gonna happen. Okay, but that's the talk out there. Blueblod Sports is all of a sudden is Terence Crawford, new manager now, trying to make fights for Terence Crawford. Okay, and all the fights he's making for Terence Crawford doesn't have Errol Spence in it. Terence Crawford should fight everybody else but Errol Spence. I mean, the whole thing is comical, okay? I mean, these guys are, man. Talking about obvious. Come on, So, this is what it is. It's a joke, really. Still going on. Still a lot of nonsense in boxing. Even though I haven't been here for a while, I can see it's still going on, okay? But like I said, there's some good fights coming up. So we're going to see how Ugas is going to do with this fight. Hopefully he prevails, and we get a real champion out there that's going to take on all comers and get the fight with, because the logical next fight, no matter who wins, whether it's Ugas or Spence, is Terence Crawford. Okay, but we know, because that's the undisputed fight. I know who's going to stand in the way of that. Nobody, except for the guy that don't want to fight Crawford. So we already know that Spence is already planning to fight Keith Thurman if he beats Ugas. Okay, we know that. This is what's going to happen. Okay, so the only way to prevent that from happening is for Ugas to win, I would think. Not that it's going to be guaranteed, because basically they are with PBC, but at least we know that Ugas have already said that he has already committed himself to the fight against Terence Crawford next if he beats Errol Spence. See, that's the difference between Errol Spence and Ugas. Okay, We've been trying to get the fight with Errol Spence and Ugas, and you can't even get Errol Spence to say that he's going to fight Terence Crawford next or any time. He has never said. I mean, he has never said it except for when Crawford first came to the division. He said, "Well, get a belt and I'll fight him." And he never did that. So we all know the whole history with that. Okay, so at this point, we just saw the interview with Errol Spence. He's promoting his next fight with Ugas, and in that interview, he never said that I'm going to fight Terence Crawford next. We couldn't get him to say it. Okay, he never said it. He talked around it, talked slick, just all kind of different way around, moving, slipping and sliding, okay, and ducking, okay. But from Ugas, we have heard with no uncertain terms, he said that if he beats Spence, he will fight Crawford next. He's committed to that, okay. And that's the difference between them. Even though they did with the same outfit with PBC, one guy is committed to fighting Crawford and the other guy is not. That's what's been holding up the fight all this time. The fact that Errol Spence is not committed to fighting Crawford. That's why the fight has never happened. That's why it's not happening now, and that's why it's never going to happen. Okay? So the best thing to happen in this fight with Ugas and Spence is for Ugas to win. So not that I have anything against Spence, per se, except for his ducking. Okay, because people, it's just that it's enough is enough. We have to move on from the era of Errol Spence. It hasn't been a very good era. He didn't really do well. He's not to talk about at the end of the day. Okay, and so we need to move on from that and get new blood in the way. Yordenis Ugas is the best thing we have right now. Hopefully he can prevail. And then we can see Undisputed with Ugas and Terence Crawford. But because if that don't happen, you can guarantee you that we're going to see Keith Thurman and Errol Spence next. Guaranteed. I can guarantee that. That's what's going to happen. So it is what it is, people. Yeah, so this whole idea about Crawford moving up is foolishness at this point. That's going to be later. No need for him to leave an easy route for Errol Spence to get Undisputed 147 pounds. If Errol Spence wants to be undisputed at 147 pounds, he needs to beat Ugas and he needs to beat Terence Crawford, and that's that. No easy route. Okay, the easy route is over with. It is what it is, people. No more easy route for Errol Spence. Okay, from here on in, he gotta go out there and earn his keep. Okay, so let's see what's gonna happen with that. Hopefully, we get the fight with Crawford next, because we know a lot of people putting pressure on him now. Especially after, they're going to put a lot more pressure on Errol Spence after Ugas if he wins, and he decides not to fight Crawford next, which is what I'm pretty 100%, almost 100% sure that's what's going to happen. He's not going to want to do that. He's going to try to duck and fight Keith Thurman. Okay, they already laid out the groundwork for that. Okay, everything is in place for that to happen. So we already see it. So we're going to see how it plays out. Okay. We might even see Keith Thurman in the ring or at the fight with Ugas fight, probably jump in the ring and say, "Yeah, I want you next, Keith Errol Spence," and then we're gonna see them make the fight right there, probably. So all you fans out there thinking that listening to all these YouTube pundits like Blueblod and all them guys talking about Errol Spence is going after Crawford and he's gonna fight him next, you're gonna be disappointed, as you've always been disappointed, because that has never happened. Okay, no matter what these guys are talking about, what they're talking about, what's really going on is two different things. And that's going to become even more apparent after this Ugas fight, okay? And you heard it here first. This is TBE Boxing saying, that's all I have for right now. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one. This is TBE Boxing saying again, I'm out, baby.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.